Hello everyone, here's a scary thing. I found out recently that apparently if a woman reproductively hugs a man against his will, that it is not an offence in this country. I am floored. Completely. Because that doesn't make any sense to me, and also, maybe, I'm slightly offended. Are they saying women are weak and fragile? Are they saying that we can't do it? Because again, I would disagree. I'm not saying we should, I'm just saying that it's possible it should be treated the same. And so it amazes me because there was an interview done a while ago. I think it was in the UK. I saw a video that popped up. It was about male consent. It was about asking if men should be able to have autonomy whether or not they wish to do reproductive hugging. And these two women said, no, if I'm in the mood, he best be too. He's going to be in the mood because I am. And then started questioning whether he liked women if he didn't. I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. Excuse me, everyone is allowed to say no, whether you are a man or a woman, and the disrespect over the fact, the misandry of it all, is the fact that if the roles were reversed and a man said the same thing, it could cause a riot. This is not the 1930s reversed. If a man said the same thing, that it was his God-given right and that she had to, it would be considered outrageous that we have a choice, that it's the right thing to do, to be patient, to remember that we are allowed to say no. But apparently, according to that interview, in this country, if this has happened to you, the number of people who go and report it and are laughed out of the police station with expressions like, well, you must have enjoyed it somehow because you're a man. Excuse me. Most people enjoy reproductive hugging. That doesn't mean that whether you're walking down the street, making a cup of tea, petting your dogs, or sleeping, that you wish to be forced to reproductively hug. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous. The reason I made this video, as we know, is that if the roles were reversed, it would not be tolerated. If the roles were reversed, it would be told that it's absolute misogyny. How dare you treat a woman like that? She has rights. She can say no. She obviously doesn't like you. What's wrong with you? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, would we all agree? You know, and in fact, some people would actually become physically aggressive over it and start attacking this man for doing this because how dare he? Doesn't he understand the word consent? Another situation that I think needs to be talked about is situations like what happened with that online model and her boyfriend. Not specifically her case, but the fact that if you see a woman being aggressive in public towards a man, it tends to be overlooked or ignored. And they say, oh, he must have done something to deserve it. As we know with that model, he did not. She did that to her boyfriend. He did not deserve that, and she ended up making him into a compost heap. If it were a woman who was the victim and he was throwing things at her and hitting her with this, that and the next, it would be immediately seen to. This altercation was on CCTV in the lift and nothing was done about it. I think it's just because he's big and he's male and he looked like he could defend himself. But the fact remains that regardless, if the roles were reversed, it would be dealt with immediately. And we need to talk about the fact that yes, men are bigger, men are stronger, men are more likely to hurt us or to defend themselves against us. But that's the problem. When they defend themselves against us, they are considered bad, they are considered evil, they are considered dangerous. I remember even Dr. Phil said to this one guy that it doesn't matter what a woman does to you, you run away. My dog tried that method when Sylvie, who really liked his feet and other things that we shan't go into, would chase him. He didn't have the strength to jump on the bed, so he would just run away from her because his instinct was to put a firm boundary or to react to what it was that she was doing to him. So I picked her up and I took her away. Why? because if it were a human, it would be considered harassment. She just wanted to smell his feet and other things, but guess what? He didn't want her to. If that were a man, a human, and a woman really liked his feet, it would be considered laughable. But if a man wants to sniff a woman's feet and he's chasing her down like, hey, I just want to smell your big toe, it's considered weird. It is, and it's not fair. In the end, Sylvie did eventually, kind of, learn boundaries and ask permission. Jack would sometimes say yes, and he'd give her his foot. But I think he also became complacent, like, here's my foot. Thank you. He'd be sleeping and she'd just be playing with his toes. I set boundaries with my animals. I'm not going to let human beings go through the same thing without comment. I don't like the way it's ignored. A lot. I really don't. It bothers me. Because Jack was stronger than Sylvie and he could have put her very firmly in her place to the point that she never touched his toes again. But he didn't do that. He came to me, the authority, and I didn't brush him off and say, oh, for goodness sake, if you just sat on her, she'd leave you alone. I didn't do that. I didn't trust him to be gentle enough to do that. So I did. He came to me, and I dealt with it. That's what should be happening with men. If men come to you and they say that someone has reproductively, forcibly cuddled them, you should, by all means, investigate. Because look at what happened with that model and her boyfriend. She is still alive. He is not. She claimed that she only threw the knife when it obviously was not the case, and people immediately flocked to her because even when she was told that she put him in the hospital and then she started crying, they were comforting her. She did this. Why are we comforting her? That's like saying, I threw my favourite mug and it broke because I was angry at you. And the person who you're angry with comes and rubs your shoulder and says, hey, don't worry, I'll get you another one. No, if she wants to get herself another one, she can get herself another one. Don't comfort her. She shouldn't have thrown it at you. And listen, I'm a woman, but I still feel this situation needs to be sorted. If you can reproductively hug, you can use that for negative. Just because one of us is stronger, that doesn't mean it needs to be ignored. And I'm not saying, by the way, that it seems to only be in my country, because in America, you hear of teachers who do this to children and they're arrested. But you still hear the headline of how they dull it down and make it sound consensual because it's a female teacher and a male student. If it's the other way around, male teacher, female student, they would call it what it is. The point here is that call it what it is. Stop beating around the bush and call it what it is. If I had a child, I don't, but let's say I did. And this child, he's my son and he gives a girl a purple monocle. He would get into trouble. Of course he would. How could you do that? That's a woman. Blah, blah, blah. What's wrong with you? But now imagine that I have a daughter and she does the same thing back. Or she does it because she's a bully. It's not going to have the same attention. In fact, the first thing they'll say to the boy is, did you hit her back? He'll say no, because he doesn't hit women. And they'll say, good. Not no, sorry, you should have been able to defend yourself. Just because something is bigger and stronger, it doesn't mean it will always use its strength to the maximum capability. And I feel that this needs to be said. Let's just get something straight. Men are stronger than women. We know this. They have more mass, more muscle, and more bone density. We know this. The point is not whether they are stronger, it's the question of whether they are aware that they're strong, and then if they control themselves. Like Jack used to do, he played with Bonjo. Both were the same weight, but cats' bone density is different from that of dogs. Jack was all muscle and maximum bone. Bonjo was all flab and minimal bone. Which of them is going to be dragged across the floor like a mop? It wasn't Jack. Bonjo held on, and so he was strong. He learned how to play tug of war, and he would hold on for dear life so that he didn't let go. Then in the end, Jack realised, you know what? It's really hard carrying my own body weight around on the floor. I'm just going to let him win. I'm going to let him win because otherwise he's never going to let go, and he's dragging his belly along the floor and he's tired and he's still holding on with his mouth, so he's going to probably get rope burn or something. So he would discreetly and very gently put the rope down on the floor, or if Bonjo was playing tug of war from the bed, the minute he saw him slipping off the bed, he let go. Not because Bonjo won, but because Jack knew he saw the danger, and so he let him win. Bonjo felt that he had won, and so that was it. He was like, "Yeah, I won. I'm stronger than you." Jack knows that he's not. Jack knows that he let him win. It wasn't like it was plucked from his mouth. And Bonjo always loved to play tug of war. He's like, "Can we do it again? Can we do it again?" Jack's like, "Absolutely." He never denied him a game of tug of war, but if he saw the danger, he let go. Just like he never disciplined Sylvie or showed her her place because of how small she was. But at the same time, I didn't hesitate to discipline her if she bit him, if she smacked him in the face, if she pulled his ear, if she made him cry. Because if I don't do something, he will. And it's the same with men today. If we don't do something, if the police are not going to do something when a woman harms a man for any reason, and especially in that department, they will start taking action, and they might feel weak, so they'll bring all their friends and they'll defend themselves, and then they'll be the ones who are put in prison. They're the ones that will be punished, and it's like the school system today. You get bullied, so you defend yourself. You're the one who's caught doing the defending, and they tell you, "Well, you shouldn't have been fighting." "Yeah, but he was hurting me." "Well, then you come and tell the teacher." "I couldn't. He was on top of me. I'm not risking having a broken nose to keep your school rules, miss." No, it's wrong, and it's stupid, and it's ridiculous. Am I saying that men should use all their strength to defend themselves if they're dealing with women? No, but use reasonable force to get them off. Use reasonable force and you should be believed. But because we as a society don't and haven't, this is where, as I've said before, we women need to stand up and accept that there are women who do these kinds of things. And we can't just believe all women all the time. If I know that happened to a friend of mine and he can't say anything because no one's going to believe him, I'm going to stand up and say, well, as a woman, I saw it happen. I saw the after effects. I know it happened, and he should be believed because he's not being taken seriously. They should be able to defend themselves, but they're not going to. Going back to my animals, I once left the room so I could, do something, and I hear a scream, I hear a whimper, and I hear a hiss, and then I hear a scrambling. I come back into the room and I looked. I'm glad that they liked to snitch, because the first thing I said was, "What happened?" Jack's rubbing his nose, Bonjo's looking pleased with himself, Sylvie's looking shocked, and I know what happened. Jack probably went to do something he shouldn't have, or he was probably walking in her direction. Bonjo saw him going to do that, and he smacked him in the face. Sylvie was unharmed. Sylvie looked surprised, like, "It wasn't me." I asked her what happened. She looked at Bonjo, who was so pleased. He was like, "Yeah, I did it. Where's my medal?" I was like, "None. You're going in the corner." Because again, just because you can defend yourself, if you're weaker, don't provoke. If I was somewhere I couldn't come quickly and he decided he'd had enough, that would have been very bad. So I had to punish Bonjo. I don't know what Jack did. He may have been walking around the room in Sylvie's direction. The fact is, I saw what Bonjo had done. Jack looked shocked, confused, and so did Sylvie. I'm reckoning because Bonjo used him as a scapegoat, that's what happened. He used him as a scapegoat, and he saw that Jack was going to go and do something to Sylvie that she didn't want. And I wasn't here, so he tried to take charge. But either way, you don't poke the bear. You don't provoke things that are stronger than you. Because if I wasn't here and Jack had had enough, he'd show him who's boss. And Jack was never like that. He wasn't aggressive like that. And yet he just took it. He just took it. The look of shock every single time made me think that maybe it wasn't deserved. Because when Jack did something and it was deserved, he would just cower and put himself in a corner and be like, I did it, I'm sorry. And so he'd be hissing around and she'd be getting all upset, right? And then it would be deserved. And I'd be like, okay, what happened? And Sylvie's hissing at Jack. So I'm like, okay, I'm guessing you deserved it, right? Because she didn't hiss at Jack, she loved Jack, so if she hissed at him, he did something that frightened her or made her uncomfortable. And her being £7 and Jack being a stone, it was hard for her to wriggle out of. Plus, she was female, so there's that. But also, she's a cat. She's much smaller, so her body's different to Jack's. A female Jack Russell would probably have been different, but a female cat is going to be very different to Jack, and the chemistry and the body structure. So no, I'm not saying that Bonjo shouldn't have defended Sylvie when it was warranted. I'm saying that he was attacking him like a scapegoat because it was easy. And I think that's what's happening with men in this country. You assume that because a man is arguing with a woman, it must be his fault. Another thing that I heard about men and women is the fact that women say that it's okay for them to cheat because it means that a man's not adequate. But if a man cheats, he's wrong because women are always amazing. Again, this is ridiculous. If a man cheats, it's wrong. If a woman cheats, it's wrong. If you don't like being in a relationship, leave. Everything I've stated here is wrong on both sides, and I know that animals are the weirdest analogy, but the fact of the matter remains, if I have that law in my house, even when it comes to something really simple as just an irritation of, please can I sniff your toes? I still had the law of, no, if it's a misdemeanor and you're just addicted to the smell, I get you, but you're going to be put on the bed and you're going to be supervised. Leave this man in peace. But if you actually sit there and make him uncomfortable and start chewing, I'm going to have to put you in the corner. And she realised that and she stopped doing it. Did it take a while? Yes. Did it take a few punishments and disciplines? Yes. Do you know what though? She stopped doing it and she would start chirping anytime she wanted to. And Jack would decide, do I want her to bite there or do I want to sleep in peace? And if he put his foot under his belly, she went about her business. It took a while, but it worked. Why are we allowing this situation to continue? Animals are supposed to be lower than humans, yet Sylvie learned very quickly, Bonjo learned very quickly, and Jack learned very quickly. Boundaries. But in this country, we are not teaching boundaries. We are teaching them that it is okay in this country to do whatever we want because it's apparently not possible to mentally scar a man. And if he does, he's a wuss. He's soft in the head. That can't continue. That is wrong and I do not agree with it. So anyway, that's my piece. I would love to know your thoughts on this matter. If you're still here, then you're handsome and you're beautiful and you, well, I'm speechless. I'll let you know next time I see you. Over to the pets. Hello all, this is Sylvie. If you liked what you saw, then subscribe for more. Hey everyone, my name's Bonjo. If you enjoyed yourself, then give it a thumbs up and share it with all your friends. Hi everybody, I'm Jack, and if you had fun, then comment down below and let my mum know what your biggest fear is.